Marion and Dr. Jennifer Hills-Papetti.
So as Judy said, I'm Veronica Marion, and I oversee the Office of Family and Community Partnership in East Hartford. The work that we do in East Hartford, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my role, and then I'm going to tell you about the collaboration and how we share information with families so that they can make informed decisions about their child's education. So there's a couple of hats, really three, that I wear in East Hartford. One, I oversee the McKinney-Vento work, so all of the homelessness. I'm the liaison for our district. Two, we have an initiative called Equity and Excellence, so I coordinate all of the equity work in our district, so providing our staff, our principals, our central office with resources about being culturally responsive. And then three, I oversee family engagement, the reason that we're here. So 3 years ago, what we did, we made it a point to align all of our family engagement support under one umbrella, under the Family of Community Partnership. So we had family liaisons at some schools, not all schools. We had family resource centers that were supporting some initiatives, and then we had pockets of family engagement. So we knew best practice was to bring all of those resources together to make sure our work was aligned, okay? But today, what we're going to talk to you about is how we use data to inform our practice, and then how we share this data with our families so that they can support their child's learning at home. Okay. So one of the most important things I have experienced is when doing this work, leadership matters. So it definitely helps my role that I report to the superintendent. Reporting to the superintendent allows me and gives me the access to not just his cabinet, but then to all of the principals at the school level. I meet with the assistant superintendent of elementary, all the elementary schools, and our deputy superintendent that oversees all our secondary schools on a monthly basis. So on a monthly basis, we are discussing what's going on in our district. We are looking at data. We're looking at the gaps. We're having these conversations. And so with me being at the table, I'm able to make those connections and then share this information with our principals and with our family liaisons. The other thing that's really helpful when we're having these conversations is that the partnerships that we have in the community, because schools can't do this work alone. We need our community partners. Now, you can still do this work even if you don't have the structures in place that we have. Like, it works well when you have that alignment, but even if you do not have that alignment, you can still do the work, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in a few minutes. So when partnering with the elementary superintendent, we noticed that there was like a gap in some of the readiness of our kindergartners coming into our schools. And so we had to take a step back to say, okay, what's happening here? What does this look like? We partnered with the Hartford Foundation, and we were able to do an assessment for all of our kindergarten students. It's called EDI. We used this assessment to see the readiness of our kindergartners coming in. I'm going to show you a quick video of what this looks like on the ground. And we're going to cross our fingers that the sound will work.
Wilder developed and is funded by the Office of Family and Community Partners. And it's an opportunity for us to work side by side with our kindergarten parents and our students to help them learn the skills early on that will help them be successful throughout the year. We go over some basic things such as oral language development, reading skill, early literacy skills, math skills, social emotional skills, how to have conversations with your student. The great thing is that we're able to give them the materials to do all of those things.
So, for example, fine motor, they know that handwriting is important, that they need to learn how to form their letters, but they might not have ideas of ways to do that at home with their child. So we give them shaping cream today, and we show them how to, hey, you can take this home and have them practice their letters on the kitchen table.
I get to see what my child's working on and what I can work on with her at home. I gotta make sure that I'm teaching the proper way and that it's aligned with what the school is teaching and what we're trying to accomplish.
I like these conversations for dinner because we do just say nothing or whatever. So breaking the ice, it gets them to talk about stuff throughout the day. They start to remember stuff throughout the day. And the sight words.
So the idea of using full sentences and encouraging her to have a conversation versus the one-word answers, I think will be something we add to our dinner at night or car ride.
When we look at family engagement, we get this question all the time. Where is my child academically and where should my child be? So Ready, Set, K is perfect for introducing school to our kindergarten parents, letting them know this is where your child is, this is where your child will be at the end of kindergarten, and here's some tools that you can support their learning at home.
The Office of Family and Community Partners has funded this for us for the past 5 years, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without them. So their funding and their backing has made this possible.
We love this school.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jen Hills. I'm the principal at Pitkin Elementary School in East Hartford. And we, about 4 or 5 years ago when we took the EDI, we looked at all of the different categories that our students came back and needing help in. And that ranged everything from readiness skills for reading to social emotional learning. And so we actually have developed a few programs over the years in collaboration with Veronica to help address those needs. So the first one that this wasn't about, but that Veronica has the binder to, we called it the EDI Olympics. And we do that every October throughout every elementary school in the district. So my coach and I, Kristen Wilder, developed the program, and essentially what we did was we looked at all of the areas of the early developmental inventory where we needed to help our students. So for instance, fine motor skills. So there is a station, they all get t-shirts, they have like little, our staff makes like little torches, we make a big deal out of it, parents are invited in, and they're allowed to go around to the stations with the students. So we work on fine motor. So we have the large tweezers that work on pencil grip, and they have to pick up little pom-poms off the table. There's a social emotional learning station where the students, they basically play a game of tag, which will also addresses gross motor about there's a picture of a student and on a poster, and they have to identify the emotion, they yell it out, and then they run over to wherever that emotion is. There's lots of different things that we do, but we focus on fine motor, gross motor, math skills, early literacy skills throughout that whole day. It's about a 2-hour program. The parents come in and they stay for lunch with the students, and then they go home. Building off of that, or where we start originally with that, is though with Ready, Set, K. And this is an amazing program. We usually get anywhere from 70 to 80% of our parents to participate. We have found that starting early with kindergarten builds that foundation. So we've noticed over the past few years, our K1 and 2 parents, they come in, like we get a really great response for when we ask for something in 1st grade now, or when we ask them to come in for something for 2nd grade, because they've had that foundational start with us all the way back in kindergarten. having them come in and partner with their students and learn with their students takes away that whole fear of school. And I don't know if any of you have children, but sending your kid to kindergarten for the first time is a big deal. And a lot of that is because they don't know what is happening at school. They don't know what their kids are supposed to be learning, and they don't know how to help them at home, but they really want to. I think we found that kindergarten is like that eager age. So we start early, and we do it in the first 3 weeks of school. So this year it was the 3rd week in September. I think last year was the 4th week of September. And again, we cover everything from social skills, so having a dinner conversation. We talk about the use of technology and how that has impacted our students' abilities to have conversations and interact, because they're used to interacting with a phone versus with another human. We talk about the importance of play. We talk about, we have the Foundations program in our district. We give the parents tools and resources that our teachers are using in school with the Foundations program for them to be able to do at home with their students. So when their kids are sitting there tapping out words in the middle of the year, we don't get phone calls saying, when we used to get them when we first got the program, my child keeps doing these weird things with their fingers. Is there something we should know? But now they know, and they know how to help them. We've seen a huge improvement with our fine motor skills with our students, because we do know that they're at home, they're practicing, the families have the language at home. And the third program that we do that kind of coincides with, it doesn't start with just kindergarten, is called the U4Youth program. So we were, a few years ago, or 4 years ago, we adopted the Envisions 2.0 math program. And even with this stuttering of this Connecticut, with the Connecticut core, parents were like, I don't understand this math. My kid's coming home, the way that I did it works, but then I do it with them, and they yell at me and tell me that I'm doing it wrong. And I don't understand, because this is the way we've always done it. So we heard that information, and we heard that feedback from families, and we developed a program that's throughout the entire district that takes place 3 times a year. And that particular year, we focused on math. And we brought families in, and we had them broken up by K1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. And they sat with their students, and they did the various activities, and we went through with them. We had their students explain, how do I decompose a number? What does it mean to decompose a number versus just adding or borrowing or carrying, in the words that we used to use when we were in school. And we did various activities throughout that year that coincided with our curriculum. So if first grade started with, base 10, that's what we focused on, because that was coming up. When we were in the spring and we were working on fractions in the upper grades, then that's what we focused on. So it gave parents a jump start, it gave them resources, and it was very well received. Last year and this year, we have been focusing on science, because when the NGSS standards came out, that was a big shift again in a lot of our families' understandings and our teachers' understandings and my understandings of the way science should be taught now. So we brought families in last year. We had a huge response, and they worked through 3 different activities depending on what session it was, that showed how we were now teaching science in school. And 1 year before that, so I guess the second year, we did SBAC. So it was, SBAC is like this thing that everybody knows about, but nobody really knows about at the family level. It's like they know they get this paper in the fall of the following year. It has these numbers on it, it has a level on it, but we really wanted to give parents resources and in-depth information about it. So we did U4Youth based around that. We showed families the portal, the online portal, where they can go in, they can look at the practice tests. We showed them what would be on the different things, and the parents were really surprised of the level of the complexity of what was on SBAC. And then we would do that, and then we would give them help on what they could do at home to help their students. And it didn't just include resources for math and ELA. We talked to them about test anxiety, the importance of getting to sleep at night, that your student may get sick before they go to school because they are stressed about it, and what they could do to help alleviate that stress. So, and that was in response to our SBAC scores some help. So, you know, we really do use our data to inform the programs that we will provide for families.
Our first parent-teacher conference of the year is just based on building relationships. So it's not about academics, how my child's doing, none of that. You parents, we can't stop them from asking that question, but it's really about building relationships. And so we've even had some principals to use those postcards on a bulletin board to display what parents want to see at the end of the school year. The other thing that I provided is something that we actually received from the State Department of Ed, and it's the puzzle piece. What is it called from the top? That's exactly what it is. And so we received it from the State Department of Ed, and I'm sure you all received it too. The only thing we did differently, we tweaked it and made it our own. And so there's resources that you can use. One, it's a great way to build relationships between teachers and parents, but it's another way to actually have a conversation with your child. So encourage your parents to have conversations with your children about their favorite subject in school. One way that I used to get this information out of my kid, so we know boys love to talk, right? Not. So what I would always do with my little fella is whenever it was like time to buy presents, like either for the first day of school or Christmas break, I would listen to the teachers he wanted to give a gift to. And then I would use that information of the teachers he didn't want to give a gift to as, okay, those are the teachers I probably need to build a relationship with and connect with on his behalf. Because students don't learn from people they don't like, right? We've all know that, we've all seen that data. And so as a parent, that's something that I did. The last piece that I have, and I'm not sure if it's on your table, but I have some more at my seat, is our handout for our family liaisons. So we have family liaisons in our district who are phenomenal. And I'm not just saying it because they're in the room, but they are fantastic. They walk into their schools with 4 priorities, from identifying the most vulnerable families to collecting data. And data, you know, that data collection looks differently depending on the school that you're in. In addition to what Jen had said, so when Jen was talking to you about one of the activities that we do with families, the EDI, we do that in October, so that's coming up this month. It's 5 different components. It's we call it the EDI Olympics. So the first year that we offered that to families, we did it in the month of May. So we think, you're thinking we're doing good stuff. It's beautiful outside. Families are going to get the resources that we need. We had T-shirts, we had food, you name it. So did families come? Yeah, they did. They had a great time. But then we looked at our evaluations. So the evaluation was like, great information, great information. Why didn't you tell us this at the beginning of the school year? Hello. So now, instead of doing it in May when the weather is fantastic, we do it in October and we pray for great rain. We pray for beautiful weather. So the data piece is so important. So it informs a lot of what we do. It allows us to make, changes along the way, and it supports what families need. So we changed that. We no longer do that EDI Olympics in May, but now we offer it in October. And I think that's it. Anything else? Oh, looking at
Just one other piece that I forgot about was when the students go home from kindergarten, Ready, Set, K, we give them a bag of materials. So everything that we go over with them, and they're inexpensive. So we give everybody a piece of sidewalk chalk. And we talk about how that helps with their pencil grip, and parents are like, well, their pencils are this big and the chalk, but they have to hold the chalk a certain way in order to do it correctly, and we teach them how to correct them with their pencil grip when they are doing it, if not. But that is like a critical piece of it, and that's always one of the great feedback pieces, like Veronica's saying, we do a feedback sheet or a review, evaluation at the end of every event that we do, and it's always so well received. We send home the foundation's information, like I said, and we send home a shoelace with cardstock letters. Yolanda's here. She cuts out every Every heart shape or every butterfly shape that we have and hole punches them, and that's a lacing activity. It's inexpensive, but it all builds on that fine motor. And we send home the handouts, conversation starters. We have the kids cut them out and they put them in a little jar. We give them ideas for that at home to pull out at dinner. So we give them the resources that we talk about within the event, and I think that that's been a huge benefit as well.
We currently partner with Dave Bechtel. He's out of Hamden, Connecticut. And one of the amazing things that he did for us, he created a data dashboard for us. And so every activity, well, let me back up. Prior to creating the data dashboard, we looked at our district improvement plan. We created our goals. Then we gave our goals to David and the programming that we were currently doing, and he aligned the two together for us. So we are constantly collecting data, and we have the resource to upload the data, and then we give the data to David, and then he gives us back the information. So I think collecting data is huge. If not, you're just gonna keep doing things like pajama parties, right? Because that's participation data, and you know they'll show up for that most of the time. But if you really wanna make movement in your district, then you have to connect it to academics. I'll let you start.
So we have, like Veronica talked about, in October, so in 2 weeks, we will have goal setting conferences. So at those and that's throughout the entire district. And at those goal setting conferences, we speak to families about what do you feel what your students' strengths are? What do you feel their needs are? I debrief with all of my teachers at the following staff meeting in the following week, and we look at our areas of need. So if we had 15 parents come back and say, my student really needs help with fractions, or she really or he is really struggling with reading on grade level, and I can't figure out why they read fluently, but then they have no idea what they're talking about. And we have questions, like we have goal setting questions that the teachers are asked to, use to kind of probe at that information. We kind of collate that information together at the school level, and then we set our goals for what we are going to do for the rest of the year for family engagement pieces. We also have an evaluation at the end of all of the events that we do, and one of the questions is always, what would you like to see in the future? What else can we do to help you? What other information can we provide? And that's on every event, every family engagement event throughout the district. So we always come back at our meetings and we talk about what is it that parents are asking for.
And then the final thing that we do, because our time is up at 10:15, is we have a family and community forum twice a year, one in the fall and then again in the spring. And that's led by the family liaisons and parents. So what we do, we have parent meetings throughout the year. The parents are the ones that's building the agenda. They are telling us. The only thing that we're doing is providing the space and the food. When I first started in the position, we did the complete opposite. We did everything for them. So we built the agenda, we made sure the superintendent was there, which he still is. We found the space, we got the food, like everything was from a professional lens. So did it work? Yeah, it worked for us. Didn't necessarily work for families. So now we had to flip it because it's not my meeting, it's their meeting. What's important to the families? So now the parents have a planning meeting before, is it 2 months, staff? We have a planning meeting. Oh, so they had one last night. So it's like a month before. And then the forum is in November. And it's ongoing, but we definitely have the parents build the agenda. So that's another place that we get the information for what families need. And we noticed last year, or maybe the year before, behavior, social emotional learning was coming up on every agenda. And so that's information then I can share back with central office. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful, East Hartford. I think that's a beautiful example
using data that you've already collected, but then telegraphing to families what's coming and what they can be prepared for, and then the data cycle continues. Families often get retrospective data, what's already happened, right? The report cards, the testing. What families don't get is information about what's coming and how to get out in front of it and how to be supportive at home and how to ask questions. What questions should I be asking? And so I think East Hartford's done a beautiful job of creating that cycle. Not only how's my child doing, but what can I do to support learning?